Tuition Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Reproductive system and reproduction in humans. Reproduction is a process involving coming to life of new organisms, either from one parent or a pair of parent organisms. It allows continuity of life. It may be sexual or asexual. Sexual reproduction involves two individuals pairing. Usually, gametes or sex cells are involved. Asexual reproduction involves a matured individual or part of an individual separating out and developing into a new organism. Both types of reproduction occur in plants and animals. We shall be dealing with reproduction in humans. The female reproductive system and the male reproductive system. These two systems make up the reproductive system in mammals. The two diagrams explain the various parts of the male reproductive system and the various parts of the female reproductive system in mammals. The menstrual cycle. Secondary sexual characteristics in girls. 1. Commencement of menstruation and ovulation. 2. Growth of breasts, uterus and pelvis. 3. Growth of hairs in armpit and pubic region. 4. Development of feeling of attraction towards the opposite sex. 5. Voice becomes high in pitch. For the secondary sexual characteristics in boys, we have 1. Production of the sperm. 2. Growth of muscles and penis. 3. Voice becomes lower in pitch. 4. Growth of hairs in the pubic region, in armpits, chest and face. And 5. Development of feeling of attraction towards the opposite sex. The next video will explain extensively the cycle of menstruation and its various processes in the reproductive system for females.
To understand the various ways that medical science can assist reproduction, it is important to understand how the reproductive system functions in both sexes, because the cause of infertility often lies equally with both men and women. The main players in the female reproductive cycle are the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. Their activities are closely coordinated. Each month, one or other ovary releases a single egg, an event known as ovulation. It is brought about by a series of complex interactions between the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. The pituitary gland is itself under the control of a small area of the brain known as the hypothalamus. A new menstrual cycle begins when the nerve cells of this center secrete a hormone called gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, GnRH, into the network of blood vessels which surrounds the pituitary gland. Stimulated by pulses of gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, cells in the pituitary gland secrete another hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. FSH travels in the bloodstream, reaching the ovaries. There it stimulates the formation and growth of an ovarian follicle in one or other ovary. The follicle consists of an egg, a number of surrounding cells which secrete estrogen hormones, and fluid. FSH helps the egg to mature and prepares it for release. As the follicle matures, the hypothalamus increases secretion of GnRH. This in turn stimulates the pituitary to secrete a second hormone which acts on the ovary. This is luteinizing hormone, or LH. Toward the middle of the cycle, there is a sudden peak in the blood level of LH. This acts as the trigger for ovulation. Within minutes of its release, the egg is guided by suction through the fringed opening of the outer end of the fallopian tube, starting it on a journey which will take 5 or 6 days as it passes down the tube and finally reaches the cavity of the uterus. Meanwhile, after the follicle ruptures, it is converted into this yellowish body known as the corpus luteum. Cells of the corpus luteum secrete the hormone progesterone, which brings about important changes in the lining of the uterus, preparing it for possible pregnancy. In fact, the lining of the uterus, known as the endometrium, undergoes changes in response to hormone levels during the cycle. In the first half of the cycle, known as the follicular phase, the developing follicle secretes increasing amounts of estrogen hormone, which encourages regeneration of the endometrium. After ovulation, there are important changes in the endometrium, aimed at making it suitable to receive a fertilized egg. These changes are brought about by a secretion of progesterone from the corpus luteum. The secretion of progesterone is maintained for several days, but if the egg is not fertilized in that time, the corpus luteum withers, and falling levels of progesterone and estrogen trigger the shedding of the uterine lining as the menstrual flow. The cycle then starts again. But if the egg is fertilized, no menstruation occurs, as the corpus luteum continues to function, secreting progesterone during the first 3 months of the pregnancy. Thereafter, numerous changes occur to support the developing embryo.
This is the structure of an ovum. The diagram explains vividly. Here we will look at the mammalian fertilization and its effects, the development of the embryo, and childbirth. The next video will tend to explain the mammalian fertilization and its effects.
Fertilization is the epic story of a single sperm facing incredible odds to unite with an egg and form a new human life. It is the story of all of us. During sexual intercourse, about 300 million sperm enter the vagina. Soon afterward, millions of them will either flow out of the vagina or die in its acidic environment. However, many survive because of the protective elements provided in the fluids surrounding them. Next, the sperm must pass through the cervix, an opening into the uterus. Usually, it remains tightly closed, but here the cervix is open for a few days while the woman ovulates. The sperm swim through the cervical mucus, which is thinned to a more watery consistency for easier passage. Once inside the cervix, the sperm continues swimming toward the uterus, though millions will die trying to make it through the mucus. Some sperm remain behind, caught in the folds of the cervix, but they may later continue the journey as a backup to the first group. Inside the uterus, muscular uterine contractions assist the sperm on their journey toward the egg. However, resident cells from the woman's immune system, mistaking the sperm for foreign invaders, destroy thousands more. Next, half the sperm head for the empty fallopian tube, while the other half swim toward the tube containing the unfertilized egg. Now, only a few thousand remain. Inside the fallopian tube, tiny cilia push the egg toward the uterus. To continue, the sperm must surge against this motion to reach the egg. Some sperm get trapped in the cilia and die. During this part of the journey, chemicals in the reproductive tract cause the membranes covering the heads of the sperm to change. As a result, the sperm become hyperactive, swimming harder and faster toward their destination. At long last, the sperm reach the egg. Only a few dozen of the original 300 million sperm remain. The egg is covered with a layer of cells called the corona radiata. The sperm must push through this layer to reach the outer layer of the egg, the zona pellucida. When sperm reach the zona pellucida, they attach to specialized sperm receptors on the surface, which triggers their acrosomes to release digestive enzymes, enabling the sperm to burrow into the layer. Inside the zona pellucida is a narrow, fluid-filled space just outside the egg cell membrane. The first sperm to make contact will fertilize the egg. After a perilous journey and against incredible odds, a single sperm attaches to the egg cell membrane. Within a few minutes, their outer membranes fuse and the egg pulls the sperm inside. This event causes changes in the egg membrane that prevent other sperm from attaching to it. Next, the egg releases chemicals that push other sperm away from the egg and create an impenetrable fertilization membrane. As the reaction spreads outward, the zona pellucida hardens, trapping any sperm unlucky enough to be caught inside. Outside the egg, sperm are no longer able to attach to the zona pellucida. Meanwhile, inside the egg, the tightly packed male genetic material spreads out. A new membrane forms around the genetic material, creating the male pronucleus. Inside, the genetic material reforms into 23 chromosomes. The female genetic material, awakened by the fusion of the sperm with the egg, finishes dividing, resulting in the female pronucleus, which also contains 23 chromosomes. As the male and female pronuclei form, spiderweb-like threads, called microtubules, pull them toward each other. The two sets of chromosomes join together, completing the process of fertilization. At this moment, a unique genetic code arises, instantly determining gender, hair color, eye color, and hundreds of other characteristics. This new single cell, the zygote, is the beginning of a new human being. And now the cilia and the fallopian tube gently sweep the zygote toward the uterus, where he or she will implant in the rich uterine lining, growing and maturing for the next 9 months until ready for birth.
The next video is going to talk extensively concerning the development of the embryo. Here, after fertilization, the embryo begins to develop. It goes through a lot of stages. As evident, we can see the hands and the legs being formed. All parts of the body have been formed completely. Here the baby turns, ready to be delivered. This next video will talk on labor and delivery.
During childbirth, the first stage of labor lasts about 12 to 19 hours and starts when your baby settles lower into your pelvis. In response, your cervix begins to efface or become thinner and dilate or widen. During this time, you may feel strong, regular contractions occurring every 5 to 20 minutes and lower back pain and cramping that doesn't go away. You may see a brownish or reddish mucus discharge, which could be the mucus plug at the opening of your cervix falling out. Your water may break, which can either be a large gush of fluid or a continuous trickle. If you experience any of these symptoms, contact your doctor or midwife to see if you should go to the hospital. At the beginning of stage 2 of labor, which usually lasts from 20 minutes to 2 hours, your cervix is fully dilated to 10 centimeters. And your baby's head has moved beyond the cervical opening into your birth canal. Your doctor or midwife will instruct you to push during your contractions and rest between them. In a normal delivery, your baby's head will rotate to face your back. During active labor, your uterus is divided into an active segment that contracts, pushing the baby downward, and a flexible passive segment that remains relaxed, stretching to provide more room for the baby to pass through. When the top of your baby's head appears, or crowns, your doctor may make a small cut called an episiotomy to enlarge the vaginal opening. Then, your doctor or midwife will give you instructions on how to push your baby out. As your baby's head passes through the birth canal, it molds into an elongated shape. An elongated head shape will resolve itself within a few days as the skull bones shift back into place. After your baby's head exits the birth canal, his or her head and shoulders will rotate to help the shoulders pass through the birth canal. Your baby's shoulders are delivered one after the other in order to fit through your pelvis. Once the shoulders emerge, the rest of your baby slides out easily. After your baby is born, his or her umbilical cord will be cut. In stage 3 of labor, which may last 5 to 30 minutes, mild contractions will help push the placenta out of the uterus. During this stage, you and your baby may begin bonding through skin-to-skin contact and breastfeeding.
Functions of the placenta. The placenta has the following functions. 1. It secretes hormones to absorb food substances and oxygen from the mother to the fetus. 2. It passes fetal wastes like carbon dioxide, urea into the maternal circulation. 3. It produces hormones which regulate pregnancy. The following are functions of embryonic membranes. 1. The chorion. It is the outermost membrane and forms part of the placenta. 2. The amnion. It contains a fluid called amniotic fluid, which acts as a shock absorber, protects the fetus from mechanical injury, and has antibacterial effects. The allantois is the innermost membrane used for excretion, nutrition, and respiration. it also forms part of the placenta. In human beings, twins sometimes occur. A pair of twins is made up of two babies born at the same time to one mother as a result of one pregnancy. There are two types of twins: 1, identical twins, and 2, fraternal or non-identical twins. For the identical twins, this is formed when one ovum after fertilization divides into two zygotes. Each zygote is derived from fission of the same sperm and egg cells, and they therefore develop into embryos with identical or same genetic constitutions. Such twins will be of the same sex and will resemble each other both mentally and physically. For the fraternal or non-identical twins, in certain instances, two ova may be released by the ovaries at a time. If these two ova are fertilized by two different sperms, two zygotes will be formed. Each zygote develops into a separate individual. The babies formed will not be identical, as different sperms with different genetic constitutions take part in fertilization. The babies could be both girls, both boys, or a boy and a girl. The table gives the differences between the male and the female reproductive organs in mammals.